Take a look at where we finished up. Take a look at today's trades. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Good afternoon. This is Ifan from the Strategic Day Trader, and this is your market wrap for August 29th, 2022. Qs. Small gap down this morning, about 1%, and then kind of closing where we opened, so finishing up down about 1%. And SPY down about 2/3%. So coming into today, bearish overall on the market, but acknowledging that we had a pretty big sell-off on Friday, pretty wide range bar, big move. So, but today we might get a little bit of a bounce, a little bit of a rest day. But overall bearish. All right, so you can see today, narrow range today on the SPY, narrow range, even more narrow on the Qs there. Basically closing where we opened. Okay. And in the room this morning, when I saw the gap down, I mentioned that would have been a little bit easier to be bearish at the open just for the intraday if we'd gapped up a little bit or opened flat. But because we were gapping down another 1% after already having a big move on Friday, it's a little bit harder to be bearish. But overall, still going to remain bearish. And we ended up having just a bit of a doji bar, bit of a rest day. Market didn't do much on the intraday. Still digesting the move on Friday, but I think the bearishness still remains. Yeah. Kind of just as an exercise, you know, at the end of the day, we did talk about, okay, what would have to happen really to start talking about being bullish. And it's really not set up in any way right now. I would want to see some kind of rally back up to resistance or to the declining 20 MA, get some kind of sell set up. And then if we fail on that, at least the hourly will no longer be in a downtrend. So it's hard to anticipate when the hourly is in a downtrend. The daily, you can see the 20 MA starting to point over. We just put in a lower high. The weekly is still in a downtrend to say, okay, where do we, get bullish? Now, if we were to get back over Friday's high, I mean, that would definitely be bullish, but, I don't really see, that kind of bar being put in, tomorrow or the next day. Even over the course of 2 days would be very, very impressive if over tomorrow and the day after we actually got back over 321. What's the exact high here? 321.51. Okay, so there's nothing really here to work with yet to say, okay, this is where we turn back to bullish. It's just we're bearish on every time frame. And so we're going to remain bearish until at least the hourly would have to end the downtrend. Okay? All right. Let's go ahead and get into today's plays. First call from me was the SLQT. SLQT was a nice 1 minute and 2 minute base here. On the intraday, we had a nice gap down on the SLQT, breaking down to all-time lows on the SLQT. So you got to like that. Very bearish. And then here it is on the 2 minute. You can see it was basing sideways there after selling off. And here it is on the 1 minute, 20 MA catching up. So the first play was actually this right here, but I didn't get filled. So that was the first play, SLQT, to play that short. I did not get filled. I did join later and did get filled, but not even the full thing later on the SLQT under as a sell setup here. Okay, and then close the whole thing here into the end of the day. So that's it. Not a huge play, but stayed pretty bearish. Even as the market initially in the afternoon got a bounce, this really didn't do anything. So stayed pretty weak there on the SLQT. I was hoping it would, base and then break down. This was kind of getting interesting as far as doing another ad here under low of the day, but never triggered, so that's fine on the SLQT. I was like 10 or 15 minutes late, I think, on finding this RVPH, so that was pretty disappointing. Kind of, as much as, it shouldn't, to be honest, kind of ruined my day just not to have found this RVPH earlier. Found it about 10 minutes late. Was already breaking the highs here. And really, this should have been played as a 5-minute buy setup right in here. 5-minute buy setup. Really tight stop. Really, really nice. Even gave a secondary entry over 75. So, yeah, 75 by 69. So, 6-7 cent stop, depending on where you get filled. And then there you go, all the way up to 310. So you know, you do the math. It's dollar 34 cents per share on a 7 cent stop. So almost 20 R's. So that kind of that bummed me out a little bit. There were some other places you could have played it. I guess there's a little bit of a pullback here, but that's hard. I mean, looking at it here, you know, I would look at that as pretty aggressive because this kind of is looking like a climactic top. So, you know, of course, you always look at it and be like, well, I could have played it there and we could have got in it, whatever. Yeah, that was really, really nice on the RVPH. Also gave you numbers in the afternoon for the Pet Z, which was okay. Pet Z, it was just this base breakout right here. I did put the big bottoming tail in as part of the numbers there, as part of the play, just because the 15-minute hadn't caught up yet. And so this late in the day, I do want the 15-minute 20 MA to be part of the play. So that's why the reason for 333 as the stop there over that was okay. Worked a little bit. I think didn't quite get to 2 hours, but got pretty close. And then I just closed the back half. Took some up here around 380 and then took the rest. Yeah, pretty much almost the same at the end of the day here. Okay. So yeah, just was a little disappointed that I didn't play the RVPH, or I didn't find it. I didn't even find it early enough to play it, and so that definitely would have made a big difference. But you know, it happens. And so going into tomorrow, still bearish on the Qs and SPY. Today's pretty neutral day. Even, you know, still down a little bit, so it's still down 1%. So even though, you know, today the market put in a doji bar, actually still down 1%. It's just that most of that happened, well, really happened overnight, because we actually moved up during the day and then came back in to close where we opened. Okay, so staying bearish going into tomorrow. I don't really see any reason not to be, and we'll see how that plays out. All right, so we'll be back at it tomorrow. I will talk to you then. Have a good evening.